Okay, now you clicked on this gear guide. Whether you're a master at the game or a newcomer, there's always some debate over what kind of gear is the best to go for while leveling throughout the game. I wanted to answer that in this video with what gear I think is the best to go for while questing through Wizard101. Now, only a fraction of you guys who watch my videos are subscribed to me, so if you're new here and haven't subscribed, feel free to do so. I mean, it's free, come on, just click the button already. Okay, now to the actual video. I've created a list of gear that I think is the best to buy or farm for in Wizard101. This list will cover gear from levels 1 to 140, will be useful for all schools, be based solely on PvE, none of that PvP crap, and will not include crowns/pack gear. Now, by the end of the video, you won't be looking like these players anymore. And instead, you'll be looking like this. Okay, before I mention any gear, I won't be talking about pets at all in this video. Just wanted to say that just in case someone said, "You forgot about pets, you moron, you're not even good at the game." Level 5. The first actual insane item in the game is the Heartsteel. Gives you 45 extra health and 5 universal resist. It's the best at Thame if you want that juicy resist. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Didn't you just list off a bunch of things and no crowns items was on it? Well, the Heartsteel actually drops from Prince Gobblestone, but you can also buy it from the crown shop for 260 crowns. If you're willing to do trivia for 3 days or farm for it, you'll have this absurd Thame in no time. Levels 10 to 25. The next few levels will sort of be a vague guide to the Bazaar gear. Your focus should be on the hats, robes, and boots, giving less importance on Thames and rings. For hats, robes, and boots, your focus should be on health and damage first, treating accuracy or power pips as an added bonus. For Thames and rings, focus on health and power pips. How I search the Bazaar for the gear I want is I click the level, then school, and it sorts by level and your school. Then I search through the various pieces of gear at my level and find the best one. Amulets, don't buy one yet. Amulets should be the least of your worries since the early game ones are garbage. The only wand you should buy after using the starter wand for accuracy is a level 20 wand from the Bazaar that gives a starting pip, and it doesn't matter what school it is. For decks, you should buy one when you need the extra space. Whether that's level 10 or level 25 or somewhere in between, it doesn't matter. These decks should be fine for many levels until level 45 or 60 once you need that upgrade. Now, I've made the range levels 10 to 25 because those are the ideal levels that you want to buy the Bazaar gear. You can buy pieces every 5 levels or skip some levels if you want. Just note that some good pieces can drop while you're questing, so watch out for those. Don't tunnel vision and think Bazaar gear is your only choice. Level 30. Alright, now that you hit level 30, it's time to do the dungeon that everyone highly recommends at this level, and it's for good reason. Mount Olympus. Firstly, you're getting the most cracked item in the game in my opinion, the Sky Iron Hosta. This beast grants you 10% damage. Yes, I said 10. Oh, by the way, did I mention it gives you a power pip too? Huh? Drop by Ares, you'll get this thing every time you fight him, so you should have no concern getting it. For the main gear though, your eyes should be on the Zeus gear drop from Zeus Skyfather at the end of the dungeon. Now, you don't really need every single piece of Zeus gear to have good stats at this level. The slightly worse gear set, called the Senator's gear, isn't bad either. What I think you should do is get at least one piece of Zeus and combine it with the other Senator's gear that you get. You shouldn't be spending more than 5 runs here. Your stats will be good enough to get you through the first arc. And by the way, at this point in the video, I should mention that you can keep upgrading your Thame and Ring every 5 levels from the Bazaar if you're struggling at all. Level 40, Barkingham Palace. It has slightly better gear than Mount Olympus, but I'm mentioning it because it's still better. I'll leave a guide in the description on the gear that can drop from here if you're interested. But being that this place has a lot less people farming it, you'll still be better off farming Mount Olympus with a full team. What I usually do with this dungeon is do it for the badge and leave it. If you get a gear drop that's better than your Senators or Zeus piece, great, but this dungeon should be avoided otherwise. Level 50. There are a few items that you can get at level 50. First off, a really good amulet to have is the Jewel of the Faint amulet. It's dropped by multiple bosses, but you can easily find one inside the bazaar. This item Faint card stacks with regular Faint, helping you out a lot in dealing mass amounts of damage. The next two items at level 50 are an Athame and ring sold by Nut Brightwood in Hrundle Fjord in Wintertusk. You'll have to do the side quest, The Thaw That Counts, to unlock him, but it's a super easy side quest since you don't fight anyone. Granting you damage on both items, these are hard to pass by as it's an easy upgrade for your character at the low cost of around 10k gold each. Level 56. The Wintertusk Crafted Gear. If you're new to the game, ignore these pieces as Waterworks is only 4 levels away. But if you're still interested in it, the recipes are given by Carrick's Strong Thread in Sudgerland. A slight upgrade to the level 50 Athame and ring come at this level as well. Dropped across several bosses in Wintertusk are the Bear's Claws Athames and the Rings of Battle. Now these can be bought in the bazaar instead of farming for them. The rings are easily accessible for all schools, but the Athames can be hard to find for most schools. If you can't find the Athame in the bazaar, don't stress as the previous level 50 Athame will work fine. Please do not farm for these. Level 58. If you don't want to craft the level 56 Wintertusk gear, you can opt out for level 58 Bazaar gear that gives good damage but lacks universal resist. You shouldn't have too much of a problem trying to get Waterworks gear while using these pieces. As long as your team isn't brain dead and you know the respawn glitch, you should be good. Level 60. Here we are. We finally made it to Waterworks. Located in Crab Alley and Triton Avenue, Waterworks gear will drop gear that will last you all the way up to Darkmoor. The first boss in this dungeon, Luska Charmbreak, drops the Waterworks hats for all schools. The last boss, Silster Glowstorm, will drop all robes and boots for all schools. Using the respawn glitch for the last boss, you can farm him over and over for your robe and boots and then only farm Luska for the hat. Don't know how to respawn? When you finish the battle, have one person go into a different room in the dungeon. Then have them come back into the main area. All 3 bosses respawn again and you won't have to do the entire dungeon again. Oh, by the way, you need 4 people to do that. I know a lot of people are gonna say, hey, but isn't some zigzag gear better than Waterworks? Well, yes, some zigzag gear is slightly better in some areas, but overall, the zigzag gear is just not worth it. Considering that you can respawn the last boss of Waterworks over and over, Waterworks is by far the better gear to farm for. But hey, you can get a 2% damage amulet from Mo Lars in Lower Zigzag if you're into that stuff. The amulets can also drop from the chest hidden behind the locked door that requires a wooden skeleton key. But my opinion is just not a good thing to farm for. Instead, you should just buy a Shango amulet from Mara Jade Tusk in the Baobab Market. If you're wanting to switch up the amulet for a blade instead of an extra feint, this is perfect to have. If you're willing to buy it for 54,000 gold, which shouldn't be too hard for the level you're at, you're all set to rock that amulet. Sorry Balance, but you'll have to find a different alternative for a blade amulet. Level 90. I know 30 levels without upgrading gear sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, sticking with Waterworks gear is the best choice out there. And besides, you won't be upgrading that stuff at this level. First off is the Alpha and Omega ring. Dropped by Gladiator Dimachirus, who only has 24,000 health, it isn't too hard to farm for. Same goes for the Blade of the Fell Titan, which is dropped by Cronus, who also has 24,000 health. These 2 pieces of gear are pretty good that you could use them until max if you really wanted to. They give good all-around stats with the damage being the main focus. And before anyone says I forgot about Tartarus and the Hades drops, I haven't. That place is doo-doo. Level 92. Another amulet option that you can choose is the Jewel of the Apiary, which can be found in the bazaar. It gives a sharpened blade and a balanced blade, which is perfect for questing with friends as you can stack on more blades. For those soloing, it can still be useful, but it's not required to have. Level 95. This is the first time you can get a deck that gives you a starting pip. Drop from various bosses throughout Chrysalis, these decks will allow you to hit with your 7 pip AoE card on round 2. I won't be going through every single deck and where they drop, but if you're interested in where to get them, check the description out. Level 96. Moon's Glow Jewel. Another optional amulet that you were rewarded when you finish Chrysalis. Totally up to you if you want to use it, and could be a better option for those spirit schools that are hitting. Level 99. Morganth. She drops very good Athames and amulets. The Athame is best for some schools in their setup for PvE at max level. Usually Storm and Myth wizards avoid this Athame since Aphrodite drops a higher damage Athame, and Myth won't get 100% accuracy when using this, so they opt for the Darkmoor Athame. For amulets, they are not the best, but they give decent stats along with a school blade, but are totally not necessary to have. I would skip farming her until you're maxed, so it's easier to do when you have better gear if you want the Athame. Level 100. Here we are, Darkmoor, the next biggest upgrade after Waterworks. Here's where you want to get the full set of Malastair gear, excluding the wand. The wand is not necessary, but if you want to get it just for the pierce or looks or whatever, that's fine by me. Along with the Malastair gear, you can get the Yevgeny Athame and Shane Von Shane amulet. You'll probably get the Yevgeny Athame while farming for Malastair, since you have to defeat him every time in the graveyard just to get to Malastair. But the Shane Von Shane amulet doesn't have to be farmed. Yeah, it's an option, but farming for it that gives you slightly better stats and then upgrading it 30 levels later, ain't it, chief? Alongside these bosses is the secret skeleton key boss Aphrodite in the graveyard. She drops pretty good rings that give a slight upgrade over the Alpha and Omega ring, so if you want to farm her, go ahead. By the way, I think everyone is using that ring in PvP right now since they updated the duelist ring, so there's that too. Along with her rings, she drops the Storm Athame that I talked about earlier, which gives 18% damage and 10% power pip, which still allows you to get max power pip with your setup at max level. A side note here is that she drops good energy gear in wands, Athames, and rings too, so while you're farming her, watch out for those two. Alternatives to the Malastair Darkmoor gear are the Crocopatra hat and Rattlebones robe from the Exalted duels. They aren't necessary to have, but if you don't want to farm Darkmoor, you can opt out for these. Please note that if you are Storm, you 100% do not want to farm for these. Levels 101 to 110. While you're questing through Polaris, watch out for drops in decks and wands, since they could be upgrades over your current ones. I wouldn't farm for them since they aren't a huge upgrade, but if you want to get them, then cool. You got a free upgrade while questing. The Omen Strybog deck is one that you could farm for, but waiting until max if you want that deck is probably better. Level 115. If you didn't get a drop wand from Polaris and you've been keeping up with your crafting quests, you can craft the school wands during the legendary Tomfoolery Arcanum crafting quest. And the next quest after that, called Hi Yo Silver Chest, will make you craft an upgraded version of the previously crafted one, but you'll need to be level 125 for that one. Even if you're not into crafting, you can skip these wands, but just know that you have to do at least the first Arcanum crafting quest to be able to craft Dragoon gear, which comes at level 130. Level 125. Kabbalist hat and boots can be bought in the bazaar for insane extra damage, although you are going to lose some resist. Tenny robe is also at level 125, which you can farm for. Storm and fires, I would avoid the robe if you still want max accuracy and power pip at max level. Level 130. Here's another big upgrade, Dragoon gear.
Jeez.
Recipes can be bought from Sasha Emberforge, and the ones you should get are the hat, boots, and amulet to get the set bonus for PvE. Don't come yelling at me in the comments that you forgot to mention the robe or theme or whatever else you use for PvP, because if you can't tell, or if you're new here, I do not PvP. Yet. Oh yeah, by the way, you need at least Visionary Crafter to be able to buy recipes from her, which is the first Arcanum quest. Farming Dragoon is easy. You can just farm King Det for reagents to craft Vanguard and then craft Dragoon. You won't have to craft the Vanguard hat because he drops a lot of hats. If you want to make it easy on yourself, just look up how to pour hop for King Det and do it all during double reagents so it takes significantly less time. Along with Dragoon gear, the Paradox deck dropped by Arachna Magna Magus is one of the best deck for stats. Don't farm Storm Titan since he's harder and he doesn't drop all schools. Oh yeah, if you haven't gotten a better wand, you can use the Liaison's wand you get from starting Caramel.
We've come into Caramel, the sweetest place we know.
Level 138. If you prefer Pierce over a small damage loss, the executive ones are easily your choice to go for at max level. Since they're dropped by multiple bosses and different for each school, I'll leave the links in the description if you want to see where your school specific wand is dropped. For the rings at level 138, you can either use the executive ring or the director ring. The difference being that the executive gives more damage, while the director gives less damage, but also gives a circle socket, which you can add on Pierce or a critical jewel. Level 140. At this level, the only thing that I would recommend going for is the Uber/Delightful wands. They're basically the same wands. Uber is dropped and Delightful is crafted. They're basically executive wands, except the stats are increased and Pierce is swapped for pip conversion. Between the executive wands and the Uber/Delightful ones, just choose whatever you want. What I would go for is the executive wand because of the damage update, and so you'll be getting the extra Pierce basically without any decrease in damage.
Hey, you forgot about marshmallow wands.
No I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, honestly, if you really think that the Marshmallow wand is better than the executive and Uber wands, then you can stick this up.
Read between the lines, Theo. Read between the lines!
Just look at this comparison between all of the Storm ones. For the decks at 140, they're basically the Paradox decks, but they give up some block to get extra health. If you want to switch out the Paradox deck for this one, cool. I don't really care since they're basically the exact same deck.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. They're the same picture.
Okay, that was way too much fun making this whole video. By far the best time I've had actually making a video. I hope you guys got a good laugh out of that, and I'll let the rest of the outro play where I quickly go over like a summary of the best free-to-play gear at a max level. So okay, now you might be wondering what is the absolute best gear setup to go for at max level is? Well, actually, if you want the most damage, you'll have to get the Frilisar bonus set, which does require you to use crown/money to get, so I'm not going to discuss the best setup to go for in terms of using crowns. But talking about free gear in the game, it differs for each school and what you use because some pieces don't allow you to get max power pip, accuracy, stuff like that when going with one piece over another. For example, Storm is always going to use the Malistaire robe for the best robe, but another school like Balance can use the Tenic robe since they can still get max power pip and accuracy when using that robe. I would recommend looking up a school-specific guide for max level to find out what the best setup to use is, whether it be free-to-play or having to open packs, but since you clicked on this video, it'll probably be the free option. What I can tell you about the best setup at max in terms of free-to-play is that you'll be using all three pieces of Dragoon I mentioned. In terms of the robe, you'll be using Malastair or Tenny Robe most likely. Wands will either be Executive, Uber/Delightful, or Marshfellow if you really wanted to. The Athame would be Aphrodite for Storm. You have Jenny for Myth, and Morganth for the rest. Ring would be Executive or Director, and the deck will be Paradox. It's pretty simple, but if you want to get the most damage, whatever, you can use crowns. But since you clicked on the video, you probably won't, because you're probably a free player. Most likely you don't like spending crowns. But yeah, that's going to be the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, subscribe, like, and comment a piece of gear you didn't know about, or if you knew all of them, or even if you have something that should have been worth mentioning that I missed. I'll see you guys all in the next one, and peace. Hey yo, shout out to my boy Salad. He's a real one.
Dark side, light this bitch up.
Oh Salad, you're so fucking valid. You got a big ass palace. Your grinding was all day. But you know that's okay. You know it doesn't matter. I'll hit you with my shatter. This rhyme doesn't make sense. But who gives 2 cents? You wanna hang out in my dorm? You know just what to perform. Hit me with the flex. And I'll give you the hex.
Macaroni with the chicken strips.